Well, this is the Inti Zone, and today I'm going to talk about temperament and its history from ancient times to now. And it's not going to be very detailed history, but still I'm going to tell you what I know. And for the next few videos, there's going to be a lot of good stuff planned. Um, Once a month, I'm going to do a history of personality psychology video, and this video is one of those. So, you see this book. It's called The Temperamental Thread: How Genes, Culture, Time, and Luck Makes Us Who We Are by Dr. Jerome Kagan. This book is one I read back when I took a class on the philosophy of science. It was an enjoyable class, but the thing about temperaments is the more you read about the cognitive science, the more you read about neurology, neural atlases, how certain things innately affect personality development and so on, you can't help but to look back at temperament theory, because temperament theory is a little different from neuropsychology in that, yes, it's developed from neuropsychology. It's an approach much different from classical personology, but in the sense that it's more based off of the hard data, the hard facts of science, such as DNA evidence and hormones and neurotransmitters and so on and so on and so on. Now, the thing we have to look at is its history, though. Way back in the past, back during the time of Aristotle, in fact, there was a book written called The Categories. Now, in the categories, there was 10 categories which defines being. In it, there was affections and affective qualities. Affections could be like diseases and so on. Affective qualities are deeper than that, kind of more like temperaments. Now, go towards Galen and Hippocrates. You have this idea that bodily temperaments affect soul traits. Those bodily temperaments were the four humors. And it was believed that these little liquids, chemicals, whatever you want to call them, impacted your personality, what mental illness you would have, and so on. And if you are very astute, you would know that that actually sounds a lot like the idea that in the mind you have these neural pathways which develop in the DNA. Where these chemicals, these neurochemicals, dopamine, serotonin, and so on and so on and so on, regulate and basically get produced. Now, I am not saying that this is all there is to personality. Of course not. In fact, it's just part of what it's innate, what's natural in your personality. The other aspect of it is what you can experience, what household you grew up in, stuff like that. You've just basically experience and culture, character traits, which develop over time. So that's the basic history of temperaments as the ancient world is concerned. You go forward in time, the medieval world, Pope Gregory the Great, he wrote the Pastoral Rules. And in the Pastoral Rules, he told priests basically how to give people advice if they were melancholic in temperament, if they were choleric, whatever. Of course, he said a lot more than that, but temperament theory still played a major role. Um, keep going forward, you had a lot of books published about temperaments. Marcelo Facino. Um, Sorry for those who know Italian. I don't, so that could have been wrong. But he wrote a book called Di Amore, and in it he talks about how melancholics are better lovers in the long run than sanguine people, but sanguine people are more attractive and people will want to be around the sanguine people. So keep going on and on. Eventually, in the modern era, people started reading Galen again, and psychologists who had read Jung, who actually based a lot of his temperamental reasoning, which came into the psychological types. I'll talk about that later in a different video. They basically looked to Galen for inspiration. Fast forward even further to the 20th century and early 21st century. Dr. Jerome Kagan started his research on temperaments. He saw thousands of temperaments are discernible, but he wanted to focus on only a few. So he focused on high reactive children versus low reactive children. This is obviously for another day. The video will come in the future. I'm just giving a little bit of a outline of history. And fast forward even further to today, we're making this video. And you see, if you look it up on medical journals, you see a lot of references to neurochemistry, neuroatlasing, all sorts of research methods which people are doing today to come up with what's called the field of neuro uh, personality or neurological personality or neuropsychology as relates to uh, personality. And this body of research, I actually recommend anyone to read about, anyone to study. It doesn't matter. If you want to go to school for it, you should. We need more scholars in this area. And so that's one of the things I encourage the humble viewer to see. Thanks for watching. I will post another video soon after this one.